Good afternoon and welcome to the end of week market review for Friday, December 27th, 2013. You're going to see that both our US and Canadian markets are rising bullish. We can see that the markets ended up with a good strong week. However, the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 are both down slightly on the trading day. We have the Dow Jones down 0.01% and the S&P 500 down 0.03%. All of our commodities are on a rise, however, with gold up 0.22%, silver up 0.80%, and oil up 0.60%. If you take a look at some of the stuff that happened on the economic side, you're going to see that on December 26th, we did end up having our jobless claims come out. We had 338,000 filings versus the 350,000 that were expected. Because there were fewer jobless claims, we did end up seeing some slight rises in the markets. It's important to note, though, that the week was on a short span, given that the U.S. markets were closed for Christmas, and then they had a short day on Christmas Eve. Looking at the S&P 500, at the daily chart, you're going to see that we're continuing to push ourselves upward. However, we are dealing with some overhead resistance around 1840. This is a rising trend line, which means that it is resistance, but every day it gets a little bit higher. So it's not going to be that significant. You're also going to see that the MACD is a rising bullish, and with its black line over top of its blue line. Looking at the S&P 500 on the weekly chart, you're going to see that we're really pushing ourselves up into some all-time highs here. Highs that we've never seen in the history of the S&P 500. Obviously, it means that we're at a very bullish state, but because we've pushed ourselves so high, we are going to be expecting a pullback, hopefully, down to that 26 EMA so that we can turn ourselves back up again with lots of overhead profit targets that we can aim for. The Toronto Stock Exchange has definitely had a strong week. This is the first time that the TSX has broken up into its all-time highs. This right now puts it at a 6-month all-time high. It's now in some uncharted territory, and with its MACD rising bullish and with its black line over top of the blue line. If you look at the TSX on the weekly chart, you're going to see that we've actually put ourselves up to quite a high. We haven't had this type of high in at least the last few years. Finally, we're looking at the volatility indicator. You're going to see that it is currently at 12.46. This is well below 30, what most investors would be considering as too volatile. Some short-term resistance are obviously going to be the 5 EMA, the 22 and the 50 EMA, and then the 200 EMA. Although most of those don't need to be that concerned, you're going to see that it ends up going up above that 200 EMA a few times and it works itself right back down again. If you have any questions about anything that we've discussed, you can either send us an email or phone call. All of our contact information is on the screen. So with that said, this has been the end of week market review for Friday, December 27, 2013. Ciao for now.